What is going on, you lovely ladies and gentlemen of the world? I am so hype, so hype. You can already tell from the title what I'm here to talk about. Dungeon Fighter Online is coming out with a fighting game. Did they actually announce what the title of it is? You're not going to see it yet, but I actually do have the Twitter page open. Ooh, okay, DNF Duel. Wait, what's the N stand for? That's a scary statement to make. Anyway, I don't know what it stands for, but I'm very excited. I'm very excited for this. Not because, like, I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, it's another Arc System Works fighting game. Oh boy, would that have been met with just trepidation and pessimism if that's all that it was. But that's not all that it is. It is being co-developed, which I hope means it's being largely developed by a company called Aiding. And this company also co-developed Tatsunoko vs. Capcom and Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And they also worked on a bunch of other fighting games. I think Bloody Roar was another one, which usually also come out with another Bloody Roar. I remember that as a kid, thinking that was awesome. But I can't remember a damn thing about it because I only played it as a kid. So anyway, I'm very excited for this. Just the fact, you know how I feel about Marvel vs. Capcom 3. One of my favorite fighting games of all time. Also probably the fighting game that I've spent the most amount of time on overall. And it is the fighting game that I can say was the one that finally led to me actually becoming good at fighting games. Whereas before I was like, I had my moments, but I wasn't really good at them. But then I was so into Marvel vs. Capcom 3 games that those really led me to getting like truly competitive, and I was actually able to play at a high level for the first time. So I owe a lot to those games. I loved those games, and so the fact that a company that was responsible for those games is now working on this, oh boy. Now, obviously I don't usually do this during Nate Talks, but I just have to show this off because y'all know exactly what is about to happen. We know who I'm playing already. We already know he's getting chained up. I'm just gonna leave that. I'm just gonna leave that right there. That's me right now. That is me right now. I'm chained up. I'm on a pillar. I got my eyes closed. I don't know what's gonna happen, and I'm scared. I'm so scared. But there's a chance. There's a chance that somebody might come save me, and that somebody might just be Aiding. Cross my fingers and hope I don't die. It's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm so hyped for this. We don't really know anything about the game. Who knows? I said I was going to stay here, but we're at 24 seconds. Let me just come over here. Does it list anything beyond? Like, it doesn't. So that's the most information we get right there is just... But what does the N stand for? Seriously. I thought also... That's a dude, right? I mean, that looks very similar to Lancelot. But the reason why I say that is because, like, decently feminine features, right? Especially the hair. But also, until I paused this, like, right there. I definitely thought this was a female as well. But that is most certainly a dude. So, I don't know. I mean, that's definitely a female, but she reminds me too much of Jam, right? Like, even from, like, that move right there is straight out of Jam's playbook. That hair is what Jam's would be if it wasn't in a circle for some weird ass reason. But yeah, I'm very excited for this, and so I hope that it's further along in development than we would all expect it to be. And I also hope that it comes out and it's the best fighting game that's ever been released, and it sells 1 billion copies. And everybody loves it and everybody plays it, and I can sit in ranked and grind that out and play ranked for the first time in an anime game in basically ever. Boy, do I have a lot of hopes and dreams, and if I get crushed by this one, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Because I'm not this like, there hasn't been another fighting game that's been released in a long time that I've been this hyped for. Just from the instant it was announced and from everything surrounding it and from the looks of it, everything. It's been such a long time. Honestly, since Chrono Phantasma, I have not been this excited for a fighting game since BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma. Just to put that into perspective. And so if this one crushes me, I don't know what's gonna happen, man. I may just have to swear off fighting games forever and just become a gacha only player. which is a whole other level of disappointment. That's actually a perfect, so now I can just leave this screen. That's actually a perfect transition point for another thing that I wanted to talk about, which was, I don't know how y'all been, for those of you that are playing gacha games, in your games recently. Oh wait, there's an article. Hang on, before I talk about this, there is an article. I mean, I can just show off the article. There is an article that is entirely in moon runes. Okay, maybe not. Let me see. Let me open this up instead on... Is there... Bookmark, save, send... No. Nope. Because on... Oh, that doesn't help me. In Chrome, there is an option. Like, it automatically identifies if the web page you're looking at is not in English, and it gives you an automatic translate option. So I assume it just runs... I mean, it makes sense that it would be Google specific, because it probably just runs the entire thing through Google Translate, right? So it would make sense that Chrome would have it and not Firefox. There we go. Yeah, it even specifically says Google Translate. Action game coming out, made in Unreal 4 at Arc System Works. A battle action game based on Neeple's popular PC online game. Be a co-production. In recent years, use other company, yada yada yada. Okay, it's just filleting. Is filleting a word? I think it is. Filleting a word. Oh, the N stands for and. Dungeon and fighter battle. Got you. Next on release, part of the video being developed on the 26th. Through this video, you can see them with a character. Oh, okay. Details such as the launch date and platform have not been disclosed yet. So that's all I really cared about. Alright, darn. I was hoping for more, but I also can't really be all that disappointed either. Because, I mean, like I said, who knows exactly how far along it is in production. It would be really nice for it to, you know, just suddenly, just randomly drop in, like... Because it's not going to be released within even, like, a month of Strive, right? Like, Arc System Works isn't that dumb. They're not just going to shoot... Haven't they done that before, actually? Didn't they? No, like, the thing that I think the worst thing that they did was after the hype of Central Fiction Grand Finals at EVO, they instantly announced Central Fiction Extend. That, I think, was the worst thing that they've done business-wise. I don't think they've really done, like, there was no overlap between a release of BlazBlue and Guilty Gear or anything like that. So I don't think they would do that. I don't think they're dumb enough for that. So I assume if the game even is far enough along in production, that it still wouldn't come out until, like, probably summer at the earliest, even, but it's probably not that far along in production either. Who knows? That's kind of one of the things that hits me the most these days about games, is that, like, it feels like the second they have even anything inside of the engine to show off, they instantly show it off. Even if it's, like, 5 years away from being released, and they know it's 5 years away from being released, they'll still show it off and they'll announce it, instead of being like, hey, this is what we've been working on for the past 3 years. It's coming out next month. Which is, I feel like, is how it used to be. Which I definitely prefer, because I hate having, I mean, the example that I can always think about, and that game still isn't out, is Shin Megami Tensei 5. That game was announced during, like, the Nintendo Switch launch excitement. I don't think it was ever announced specifically as a launch title, but I think it was implied that it would at least fall within a certain time frame of the Switch's release. And we still really don't have much of anything about that game. And that's, what, like 5 years now? Good God. That kind of stuff is just absolutely absurd. So who knows how far along in development it is. Who knows when it's going to come out. But like I said, super excited for it. Anyway, next topic of discussion. Gacha. I don't have a whole lot to talk about. I've been so absurdly unlucky. That's the reason why I meant to talk about this right when I saw DFO. But I guess I should start calling it DNF. DNFD? Is that what they want to call it? I'm not calling it DNFD. I'll just call it Double D. because everybody loves double D's. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I wanted to talk about it once I saw it, because like I said, the second I saw the trailer, I was instantly hyped up. But I also wanted to complain about my gacha luck, and I didn't want to spoil the results of the ARKNIGHTS, but I realized it was definitely a mistake to do, because I did the reason why you only saw that small snippet that I posted is because I did summons one by one. So I did around like however many summons, like almost 50 summons just individually. And that took way too long. I should have been doing them 10 at a time. And if I ever do that in the future, I will definitely do them 10 at a time, because it took way too long. And so it's fine if I was just doing, so like if you haven't played ARKNIGHTS, if you don't know anything about it, in ARKNIGHTS, whenever a banner gets released, you are guaranteed a 5-star within your first 10 summons, at least. It can be a 5-star. There's also a possibility it'll be a 6-star. I don't know what the actual probability of that is overall, but you're guaranteed at minimum a 5-star in your first 10 pulls. So if that's all you're going for, it's fine to just do single summons up until you hit that point. But if you're like me and you're like, I am going all in on this, and I pray to every deity that has ever existed that I get Hoshiguma on this banner, then I should be doing 10 pulls. So lesson learned there. But yeah, so I like I said, I went all in. I spent what, like 28,000 of the summoning currency in order to try and get her, as well as 4 headhunting permits. So that's basically the equivalent of another 2,400. So basically around 30,000 of the summoning currency, and I did not get her. Thankfully, I was able to just buy her in the shop. Whenever a banner comes in, one of the 6-star heroes is purchasable in the shop, and thankfully it was Hoshiguma and not Ak. So we have that going for us. So I was able to get her in the end, but it would have been a whole lot easier if I had just bought her outright. And I could have just bought her outright before spending any of that currency, and then I would have had all of it available for the limited banner. But still, so you saw how poorly that one went for me. Guardian Tales. I wish I had talked about this earlier, because now I'm even saltier than I was before. Initially, so I went all in on this banner, the previous banner for a character called Beth. Not going to go into it because most of you probably don't play Guardian Tales, but I really wanted this character. She was like the exact kind of style of character that I tend to like gravitate toward, and it helped that she was also like broken and meta changing. So obviously those two things combined, I want her a lot. So that was the first banner I'd ever been that had ever come to Guardian Tales that I was like, I'm going all in on this. I pulled 170 plus times. Somewhere between 170 and 180. I'm not, because I did a few single pulls in there, so I'm not sure exactly how many of those I did. But a little bit above 170 pulls on this banner, and I did not get her. Now, provided their published probability is correct, which it might not be, because some gacha games have been caught lying about their rates previously. So, of course, if you're looking at a genre of games that is going to pretend to have higher rates to try to get more of your money, it would be gacha games. So, but provided that they were actually correct, after 170 plus summons, I only have statistically a 9.6% chance of not pulling the banner hero. And I did not pull the banner character. That's like a 9.6% chance. Now here's the part where the salt comes in. A Christmas event came along. Ironically enough, the Christmas event came in after Christmas is over. Like, I think 2 days after Christmas is when it started. So, little weird. Well, actually, it's not weird because it happened, well, fuck it. It's still weird. But anyway, so I just decided with this event came missions where you get a really good currency if you summon more. So I'm just like, whatever, I'm just going to summon as I get currency on these various banners, whichever one is the best for me. In order to get more of this currency, because basically what it is it's mileage that you can spend on characters, and my intention is to accumulate enough of that to purchase the character I did not get. So, my very first 10 summon that I make on these new banners, I get the banner character. Now, to be fair, this banner character is sick, but she's not the banner character I wanted. So that already, just the fact that my very first 10 pull is like, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So then, but in order to get these event rewards, it gives them to you in batches of 20. So you have to summon 20 times on either hero banners or item banners in order to get them. So I needed to do another 10 pull. So I did another 10 pull in order to get those rewards. And then I was going to move on to the item banners. Since now I have that character, I may as well try and pull for her weapon. So I pull 10 more times on just the generic character banner, and I get another max rarity character. To be fair, this one was a duplicate, so it wasn't as improbable, but still, like, just the fact that I pulled 20 times, and I got 2 max rarity characters, one of them being a banner hero, whereas on the other one, I pulled 170 times, and I only got 3 max rarity characters, and they were all duplicates. Like, that's just, oh, how dare you give me luck when I don't want it. I'm so entitled right now, you have no idea. I'm so tilted. But now the worst part is, now that they gave me that luck, I know for a fact there is no way they're going to give me this character's weapon. So in Guardian Tales, every single character has an exclusive weapon that you can give them as well. That basically, for a lot of I don't know about it for this character, but for a lot of characters, for them to actually be good, they need their exclusive weapon. It's like they're just on completely different tiers of strength if they have their weapon versus when they don't. I don't know if this particular character is that, if she absolutely requires her exclusive weapon, but I'm just guessing, like, because of that luck, now I'm going to go like 500 summons into her equipment banner and I'm not going to get it. Just to piss me off that much more. But then, no, we won't talk about it. That's enough complaining. Because this is all set, like, none of this is meant with any actual, like, there is some tilt behind it, right? But there's no actual anger. There's no, like, this is so unjust. It's so unfair. Like, that's the nature of Gacha. But it's still, like, it's this kind of stuff that makes me just, it blows my mind how much money people spend on these kinds of games. And, like, I get it that a lot of people have a lot more disposable income than I do. But I feel like unless I was a billionaire, even if I was, like 100 millionaire, and I threw, so the amount of summons that I put into Guardian Tales, I calculated it out. It would have been $153 to make all of those summons if I bought the currency with money instead of having just saved it up over time. $153. Even if I was a millionaire, a 10 millionaire, a 100 millionaire, if I just threw $150 away into the wind, I'd still be pissed. Doesn't matter how much money I have. I'd still be irritated at the very least. And so it just, I have no idea how you have the people that are like, yeah, I'm just going to casually spend $10,000 on Genshin Impact. I just don't get it. It just, from a psychological standpoint, I cannot wrap my head around it. Because I feel like there's no matter how much money I'm worth, if I'm worth $5 or if I'm worth 5 million, there's no way that I would want to just, because at least when you're gambling, which is basically what Gacha is, more or less, but at least when you're gambling, you have the chance of, like, doubling your money, right? You might lose it all, but you might win it all. Who knows? But that's, like, I get that appeal. But in contrast to that, spending that much money on a character who is probably, at the very least, likely to become outdated and power crept out of the meta, versus how many Gacha games have just been shut down entirely and you lose access to your entire account because they're like, nope, operating costs are too much, it's not worth it anymore, we're done, peace out. And now it's like, but I spent $10,000 on this game. Yeah, thanks for that, peace. Hopefully you play our next game and you spend all that money again on our next game. And then we'll shut that game again down too. And then come out with another new game that's fresh and new. And people forget about the reasons why it got shut down in the first place. Oh, I can't wrap my head around it, man. It's too much. It's too much. Anyway, last thing I want to talk about. 13 Sentinels Aegis. See, let me actually look this up on an actual website. That's not it. Hopefully this doesn't start playing. Oh God, tight, Nate, tight. Do not play music. Do not play music. Didn't play music. We're good. I have a website bookmarked for for Streets of Rage 2, the soundtrack. And that's what I clicked on. So it is Aegis. Because I've always, like, are there alternate pronunciations? Let me see. How do you pronounce So they say Aegis as well. American, British. British is also Aegis. How to pronounce... See, I've always pronounced it as Aegis. Oh, I can't actually hear that because I turned that all the way down. Did it?
Aegis.
So it is Aegis. Okay. See, but like, don't they also... I'm going to have to look up some old tournaments, but don't all of the commentators for Dota, like, this is part of my... this is part of my experience with the word, and honestly part of the reason why. Don't they pronounce it Aegis? Like, they pronounce it Aegis of the Immortal? I don't think they pronounce it Aegis of the Immortal. They pronounce it Aegis. So that's kind of where my confusion stems from, because when I was playing the game, I had the game in Japanese language. And I'm pretty sure that they were pronounced, like, they didn't say it very often, but I'm pretty sure they were pronouncing it Aegis as well. So I was very confused, but now I know everything, like everything that I just looked up has all said it's pronounced Aegis. So I believe them, and that's how I'm going to pronounce it from now on. But yeah, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. Oh my god, what an amazing game that is. Let me go scope this out real quick. Let's go to Metacritic, which is such a reliable... It's decently reliable. I mean, it's not great, because obviously people are biased in general, but it's, at the very least, it's a semi-decent way to get a good idea of what people's... See, Metascore, so reviewers in general, 86, and the user score is a 9, even. And that's... I think it deserves more than a 9, to be honest. I think I'd give it a 9.5. Like, if I was rating it out of 10 myself, I'd give it a 9.5. And the only reason why I would take away the 0.5 is because of the ending. The ending was very, very cliche for, like, a sci-fi story. For a sci-fi story along the lines of this game, it's pretty much, like, exactly what you would expect. Which, I feel like everything else was not what I would expect. And so, for the ending to be that cliche was definitely, like, a really notable negative for the game. But other than that, the gameplay, I have nothing but good things to say about it. The story, nothing but good things to say about it. The characters, nothing but good things to say about it. Like, oh my lord, what an amazing game that was. And it was such a failure marketing-wise because of that. Because I didn't buy it until it went on sale. Part of that was because it got released when I was at school, so I didn't have my PS4 with me, so I wasn't buying any games at that time. But even if I wasn't, I wouldn't have bought it initially because the marketing never showed off the actual gameplay. I had no idea what was going on for the gameplay itself. And you can't tell how good the story... I couldn't have known that this was going to be one of my favorite video game stories of all time prior to actually playing it. You can't get that from trailers. So, like, when I was going into it, I was like, yeah, sure, it's being made by Vanillaware, who has not let me down yet. I have absolutely adored every previous Vanillaware game, and now we can add this one to the list as well. And honestly, this is now my favorite. Gameplay-wise, Dragon's Crown is still my favorite, but as an overall package, this game is my favorite Vanillaware game. And it's my second favorite game of the year. Hades is just too damn good. Hades is my game of the year. It's not even close. But 13 Sentinels is second, and there's no other competition there for me. Absolutely phenomenal game. But from a marketing standpoint, they sucked balls. Oh my god. This game, let me put it this way. It has been declared that Cyberpunk 2077 has sold around 13 million copies. Now, to be fair, from everything that I've heard, I haven't played it myself, but from everything that I've heard, it is a deeply flawed game that is still incredibly good. So I'm not trying to use this as like, haha, trash talking Cyberpunk, not that at all. I'm just saying that Cyberpunk 2077 has sold around 13 million copies as of this moment. 13 Sentinels, hey, that's a little ironic, should have sold that many copies. And if it was properly marketed, I genuinely feel like it might have gotten there. Because the gameplay is... I didn't expect a damn thing from the gameplay, and I absolutely loved it. I intend to play through the game again. And, like, you know, there's no more spoilers left in the story, but I enjoyed the game so much that I want to play through. I want to try... Because you have different builds. You have It's called 13 Sentinels for a reason. You have 13 characters that you can use. Actually, you don't have 13. It's a little bit less. But anyway, is it less? Or do you get 13? I can't remember off the top of my head. You get a bunch of different characters to play, and all of those characters are customizable to a degree. I don't want to get into all of the specifics because that might be getting a little bit spoilery, but you can definitely change up the way you play, how each unit can be utilized based on how you customize them, based on the powers you give them and stuff like that. But the only thing, like, I feel like just one little change. I mean, it's not really a little change. It's definitely a big change. But the problem is that for those of you that have played Fire Emblem before, you know how if you go into a fight, you have the option of turning animations off. So it's either you go into a fight and then it zooms in on the fight and it shows animations for both units attacking each other, defending from each other, whatever. But you can turn those off. And so then all that you really see is just two units kind of smack each other and then back off, right? You don't actually see a full animation of the attack. That's basically, the latter is basically what 13 Sentinels is, essentially. Like, it's not a turn-based strategy RPG, but it is definitely strategic in the way that you play it. It's kind of sort of like right in the middle between turn-based and real-time strategic. I'm not really explaining this very well, which is probably the reason why it wasn't marketed very well. But anyway, if they had just made it so that you had the option, like Fire Emblem does, of zooming in on the specific attack that you pick on the unit that you pick it on, and so then you had this animation of this giant mech attacking this giant monster, and you had that available for your trailers, like, here's the gameplay, here's what happens, I would have bought that shit instantly. And without a second's hesitation, I would have bought it on release. It would have just been waiting on my doorstep when I got home. Hopefully not. It wouldn't have been waiting on the doorstep. Hopefully it would have been waiting in my room. But still, it would have been waiting for me. I would have purchased it at full price. But instead, by the time I got home, it had gone on sale for the holidays for half off. So I bought it at half off. But I would have bought that game at full price. It is absolutely worth it. And I cannot recommend it highly enough. But I just feel like if it had that little bit of additional animation where it shows more than just... Because what it looks like right now, the way the battle system looks, the best way I can describe it, which isn't a very good way to describe it now that I think about it, because not everybody has read Ender's Game, and probably not everybody envisions Ender's Game the way I have, and I have no idea if the movie is anything like the way I envisioned it, because I heard the movie was garbage, and I love that book, so I don't want the movie to ruin it. But the way the game plays out is the way I imagined how the simulation looks in Ender's Game when Ender goes off to be, you know, like, he's being trained to be the supreme general for the fight against the buggers, right? That was what I always imagined those simulations looked like, is essentially what 13 Sentinels looks like. It looks like you're just looking at a simulation of just pixelated things. You're in mechs, but they don't look like mechs. I think pretty much all of them just look like circles, right? And then all the enemies that you're fighting basically just look like squares. And it looks very, you know, like computer generated. Nothing looks like you would think it would look. But if you had those zoom in moments where it actually goes into a graphical animation of a mech just absolutely annihilating a monster with whatever attack you choose, that alone would have been enough to get people interested and involved and look into it deeper. And the worst part too is they have those things in the game. They have those resources in the game. Because as I mentioned, like, each of the mechs is customizable. So you can go in when you're purchasing or upgrading each of the powers, it shows a little animation of what the mech does for that attack. It shows specifically what they're doing. And there are also, like, if you go in, there's, you know, a huge database of everything that's in the game, including all the enemies. And so there are actual models and animations for all of the enemies in the game. So those resources are there. And then all you have to do is just combine them. And if you had that available and you could show that off in marketing, good golly. I genuinely feel like, not to be fair, this game also kind of came out about like 7 years too late. When did Pacific Rim. When did Pacific Rim come out? Not 2, because 2 ruined everything. 2013. Didn't I say 7 years? Damn, I'm on point. But yeah, Pacific Rim came out in 2013. If it had come out in like 2014, playing off the hype of Pacific Rim, damn. That's, I mean, they're not, from a story standpoint, they're not anywhere even close. But just the idea of mechs versus kaiju, very similar. So, you know, it could have played off that hype. Plus, it's called 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. So you have a somewhat similar title going on. Anyway, point being, this game was horrifically marketed, and it wound up being one of my favorite games of the year. And honestly, one of my favorite games of all time. I genuinely think it's one of the best games that I played in recent memory. So I can't recommend it enough, but suffice to say, I also can't say enough bad things about its marketing. And it absolutely deserves so much better than what it actually was, which is an absolute shame to say. Anyway, I've been talking here now for 30 minutes straight. I'm done. Thank you all for listening. Hope you're all as excited for me, are excited as me for DFO, for DFO, D for double D. For them double Ds, that's right, I'm going to call it double D. I got to stick that in my mind now. I'm calling it double D. I don't care what the rest of y'all are calling it. I am calling it double D. It can join BB Sex as titles that shouldn't exist, but it is, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you for listening. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.